Wait, I think we are live.
I think we're live as well. Hey everyone.
Wait, is there? Is there anyone there? Wait, wait. Do you see any numbers? Uh, I think. Wow, okay, thank God. Yes, we got the
Thank
first
you.
comments. Thank God. Hi, Lavinia. Hi, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to be here, though. So happy to be here. So happy this is working as well as this is whew, my first time doing this with a third party streaming platform. Uh, wait, let me try this. Okay. Uh, so the streaming will begin soon. We're just waiting for another people or people to joining us as well, or maybe show us in the comment. Tell us where you're tuning in from. I'll check out the comments as well. Wait, where's the
Yeah, we were
comment?
just chatting that we're tuning in from two very far away islands.
Yes, yes. I'm tuning in here from Bali, Indonesia, and Maria from Brazil. Yeah, you're tuning in
Yeah.
from Brazil. Which part of Brazil again?
Florianopolis, down south or south-ish of Brazil.
Mm,
Also an island. Heading towards summer, which is yeah, always crazy.
I see. Okay,
I
how
know.
about you, Lavinia? Where you tuning in? Oh, Sanur from Live It. Ah,
Is the
nice.
boss asleep already, Lavinia? That's a big
Yes,
question. I assume that he is, since you're here.
yes. I'm personally happy that we got the comments already starting. At least things are working well at the moment.
Mm.
Okay, how many people are joining in at the moment? If any people joining in, can you please give us any comments? Let me check. Oh, I can comments there. Okay. Do you see the
Great.
comments?
Yes, there are comments coming. I'm sure
Yeah,
people will
comments.
keep tuning in and out. LinkedIn Lives are slightly different. I've noticed that people come in, they go out, they jump back in, they go do stuff. Now it's holiday season, so I'm sure people are multitasking with whatever it is, gift wrapping and
Mhm.
preparing.
Wait, should we wait for another minute? Yeah, I think we should wait a little bit.
Mm.
Uh,
Yes, we have folks joining from YouTube as well.
oh,
Oh, I love being
oh
able
yeah,
to
we
see.
have someone from YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Hello,
Hey.
Icon,
Mm.
Icon. Please let us know where you guys are tuning in from.
Yeah. Also, if you're on holidays already, or is it still the last crunch of the year? I've seen both. I've seen both. Now it's the last Monday. Some people already went off on holidays last week, and others are still going strong.
Yes. Yeah, more people are joining as well. We have 17 so far.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, okay. Should we start now? I guess. Uh,
Yeah. Go. Let's
yeah.
go.
Let's.
My puppy just
Yeah.
joined
Let's
me.
go.
So let's see.
Yes. Hi everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. We're really glad that you're here for purpose-driven AI on how to implement intentional AI solutions, hosted by Livit as part of People and AI Month. We'll get Uh, Maria here is the co-founder of Purpose Driven AI. Maria helps people and teams build AI solutions that make sense in real life. I think Maria, the mic is yours. Please grab the mic. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey everyone. Super happy to be here. And yeah, Lavinia, is everything okay after the power cuts? Yeah. So the storms were quite heavy last week, so we had to reschedule. Unfortunately, got stuck behind an electric gate that wouldn't open, so I couldn't flee as I usually could. But all great today, and yeah, I'm really excited to do this session today. Hopefully, we'll get some comments and questions coming as well, so it's not going to be a full monologue. I'm doing this slightly differently today. So instead of slides, what I've prepared is a kind of web page that you can also go back to, has some interactive elements. So if you cannot stay for the whole time, for the whole session, which is the reality for many, so you'll be able to go back and see, as well as get the recording after today. But today, I'm really going to talk about the implementation of intentional AI. And I really want to kind of emphasize the word intentional here, because everyone seems to be implementing AI, but the intention and really just making sure that we're creating and building something that serves you, your work, your team, whatever it is that you might be doing, seems to be a bit harder to reach these days. Also, understandably, because there's so much new stuff coming out all the time. There are features, new platforms. I mean, there doesn't seem to be a day when something new isn't coming in. So really, really crazy times in that sense. I don't think I can remember a time quite like this before. If you have any questions, feel free to always share them in the comments. We'll get to them when they come. And in addition to the presentation, which I will share with you after, or maybe you can share it right now in the blog, in the comments. I'll also be sharing, and you get access to our blog. The reason I share the blog and the newsletter is that every single thing that we're going to be talking about today is going to be cut into snippets, and we're going to be sharing it as a really kind of concrete how-to across the first 3-4 months of next year in the newsletter. So any questions or anything that you might want to kind of address or really just take things into practice, feel free to join the newsletter and do that. So amazing. Yeah, so we have the blog there. That's the best place to go after. You'll be getting it in kind of smaller snippets as well. So it's not going to be an hour-long session like today. So let's get started then. Let me see that my screen looks okay. So today what I'm going to talk about is the very large amount of projects that don't quite succeed. And especially we're going to be focusing on what does it take for those 5%, or again, what are these numbers? These are from studies, but every single one of us who is working with change management, tech, or honestly, anything else related to AI, which I assume that we all are being here, there is a large number of projects that don't really quite make it. And today we're going to be kind of addressing some of the reasons why, as well as ways to really tackle that challenge. So one of the main reasons why the AI projects kind of tend to fail is because of the focus on tools, tech solutions, and the lack of focus on the why. So what are we actually trying to build? Why are we doing this? Why are we even considering AI? And what I notice a lot with clients is that AI is kind of seen as this save all technology right now, which is not really the case. AI is really good for certain things, and it's actually really terrible for others. So for example, if you need to have extremely consistent mechanical answers, or a very kind of clear cut fetch and bring back information type of service, AI is probably not going to be the best thing to do. So all of these things are going to come across this this hour that we're going to be spending together. So AI works for some things, and for some it doesn't. And that's what I mean by intentional, using it where it really serves your purpose and serves your project. So here are a few things about a few numbers. So this is the first one. Obviously, 95% of AI pilots fail. This is quite heavily quoted. And yeah, regardless of if that is 95% or something else, a really large number of projects really do fail. And what do we mean by fail? They never take off after the pilot. They just get abandoned. 42% abandon their AI projects based on another study. I really love the middle one. So meaningful oversight requires more than putting humans in the loop. Companies need to treat oversight as an integral part of Gen AI and not an add-on. What this means is really that we need to start seeing oversight or human involvement as a integral part of the system that we're building. So what I see a lot with clients and people that I talk to is that AI is seen as this kind of solve all band-aid, and we don't necessarily do the work of integrating it into the systems, into the teams, into the organization, into all of these complex systems that we have in organizations these days. So that's really something that is key to most failures that I've seen personally in my work, as well as based on the studies that are out there. And of course, the technology has and plays a role. AI will be developing over the next years and next decades, and but the main failures, the main reasons we are not making AI work to the fullest potential that it could, are more related to the human side of things, the way that we build with AI. This quote I absolutely love. It's and I think everyone and anyone who's worked with like change management in general, even in before AI, or let's say the last 15 years, you have experienced this, right? So you have a great demo or you have a great solution for something, and then you take it to the real world and it collapses because the systems and the people dynamics, really just like all of those edge cases, they are much more complex than we like to think. So if you're building in a container of no real organizational texture or challenge, or people using your thing in a way that it's not designed to be used, which is again very different with AI. With previous technology solutions, you would design a thing and that was the only way it could be used. I mean, you could always like tweak a bit and try to mess it up, but with AI, it's much easier to use AI for something else than what it was intended for. So the organizational texture, the compliance, the complexity of what we're building is just on another level when it comes to AI. And please feel free to just share in comments if you've experienced any of these. How does it look like in your organization? Are you noticing any of this complexity? Maybe using AI, maybe trying to bring in AI tools, and how are you integrating humans in that system? I feel like this is going to be the very big thing next year, that we're going to start not only looking at AI as the kind of tech solution or the features, a collection of features, and really hopefully we're going to start looking at AI as a player in the system. So as a team member, as a participant in the organizational structure. But yeah, that's hopefully coming next year. So to summarize a bit, so the real problem is, this is what I see probably the most, is that when you start conversing with people wanting to use AI, the first question is usually, so what tool should we use? Or what subscription should we get? Or what, can you just, I love this one, can you just make an AI agent that does all this for me? And what is this? I think that's always the first question I have. What is this? Like, what is the actual thing that you're trying to solve? Because if we take the time to really look at creating something new with AI, there are two ways. We can either fast track and hyperpower something that didn't work in the first place, which essentially will take us to the wrong place faster. Or we can take a moment to really look at what we have and use this moment that we're going to take implementing AI anyway and really go deep into what is the actual problem that we're solving, what is the thing that we're trying to do here, and really solve for the real core challenge and issue instead of just tagging something on top of a system or a process that didn't quite work anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through purpose-driven AI implementation. So this is the kind of like rough outline of how we work with clients, and I'm going to be sharing the steps with you. We're going to also take a few minutes in between to make sure that you have some time to note things down. So if you have a notepad or a pen or notes app, whatever it is that you might use, I guess a lot of us might use voice AI as well these days. But yeah, whatever your preferred note-taking device. So the whole goal of the way that we work with our clients, and this goes for all types of clients. I'm going to be speaking a bit on the kind of, we work with individual clients, so individuals, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, even private individuals, not necessarily building for others, but for themselves, and then teams and organizations. So that's something that we'll be addressing. This is going to be applicable for all of us, regardless of your kind of organizational size. So why are we doing this? That's really the first question that we should always ask. Whatever the project, whatever the implementation, whatever the goal that we might have, the first question should always be, why are we doing this? And in our process, the way that we address and approach these projects is that we always have a kind of like a pre-built assessment or scan to help, not to assess or really diagnose or give labels to people or things, but rather to help pinpoint where AI is actually potentially the right tool to use, and where in people's personal processes do they need support. Because we don't want to be building something that does not serve anyone, that only adds a layer on top of the other layers that we have. What we want is to take the problem, take the challenges that we have, either in our personal lives or in our companies or in our teams, and we want to solve for those problems. So why are we doing this? Really going deep into that. Then the next step is going to be around what. So this is going to be more about making decisions, kind of speccing. What is it that we're building? And also, what tools are we using? And as you notice, that's not the first question that we ask. And then last, we address and approach the how. So how do we actually implement? So I have split this for today into these 3 steps. In the sprints, we have 5 steps, and this is just because the time it takes not only to really address the questions of each step, but also to have a bit of time in between for people to mull over and really think about what it is that they're trying to build. So I already mentioned the first one. So there's always a kind of like pre-scan, pre-AI coaching session that will help people get into the mode of what is it that we're building and why. What does your workday look like? What does your process look like? Where can you create the most value? And then step 1 is always about mapping and discovery. I'm going to share some real case studies in a moment after we get to that point, to show you how this can look in practice. So that is one of the things that I will show later. I think we have a question. What collaborative method does purpose-driven AI use to help teams implement AI? If this is related to kind of like, can you maybe clarify if this is more about the kind of like specific techniques, or how do we run the sprints? If this is about how we run the sprints, these are always collaborative sessions with the team. They're actually really interesting because we use a very kind of large scale of doing really human one-to-one coaching, doing very human discovery, like conversing. We use Miro. We use a lot of these kind of like visual mapping tools. And then we also use AI support tools, both within the sessions, but mostly outside of the sessions, specifically for technique. This always depends a bit on the project, but I think the main ones that we use are really. I'm a coach by background, so my background's in service design and transformational coaching. So a lot of the work that we do with clients is really coachy in the sense that we discuss a lot. There's a lot of structured conversation and really going deep. The sessions themselves, the way we run them, are these kind of like sacred spaces for exploring, and then any kind of analysis or mapping or visualizing usually happens after the sessions. So the sessions themselves, we usually use in connection, being present, really conversing with people, and then we do the kind of cleaning up on the back end, and then we come back. Hopefully that answers it a bit. So yeah, that's really one of the things that we do, and that's something that is for us very important to kind of be intentional about the difference of like what is valuable to do together as humans when we take that time, when everyone joins the meeting, everyone comes together. And for us, that's the conversation, that's the connection, that's the asking questions, sharing ideas, really like going through those elements instead of, for example, using AI tools for the session. We usually have that outside of the sessions and all of that other stuff as well that is more deliverable oriented, if that makes sense. But the way we work is we connect on the calls, we talk on the calls, and there's always something being produced on the background so that every single time we come, there's something to be shared with the team. And this includes everyone in the team, both from our side and from the participant side. So cool. So that's step one. So we start mapping and discovering. Then the step two in this three-step framework is really about, like I said, focusing on design. So you define the solution specs. You've understood how your problem flows across time, where the challenges are. You have started to kind of understand where AI can potentially help you. And then you obviously need to make a decision. And this is actually it's only one step in the 5 or in the 3, but I find that if you skip this step, you're not going to get very far, because we have this tendency to want to solve everything. And I'm sure everyone's had that problem of having too many options, too many choices, and then you end up solving nothing. So step 2, focus and deciding what we're going to focus on in this specific sprint, in this specific 5-step process, and then making sure that we're focusing on that specific thing. So gathering materials, selecting templates, etc. Then we have the build, testing, and implementation. I'm going to go deeper into these a bit later, but these are the steps that come after. We quite often get asked if we could just start here with the build, and we've done it. Like we've started with the build, but the thing that we notice when you start with the build is that those questions from steps 1 and 2, they come up at some point anyway. You can't really ignore them. You can just start building, and then you will have to basically circle back to the why and the what. Sometimes the clients have done this work themselves already, and it's going to be faster, and then we can build more. So again, this is a really kind of flexible process, but these are the steps that we need to go through in any case. So 3 questions, 5 steps. And honestly, what I've seen people using this is the amount of clarity that you have instead of the overwhelm and confusion that most of us have, especially when it comes to AI. So the first step is why, and this is what I would love to have you kind of note down things for just for a minute. I'm not going to give you a lot of time because we're on LinkedIn Live and I can't really see you. So let's just put a time aside so you can fill this in later. But the first step is really finding your purpose, and I don't necessarily mean your purpose in life or or the kind of more philosophical side of it, although that can be it as well. And but it's more about finding the purpose of whatever it is that you're doing. So if you're taking a moment or you're taking the time to build something, whatever it might be, um, just taking a moment to really note down like what are you doing, why are we doing this, and what is the problem that we're actually solving. I've added some really good kind of excerpts of articles that I really enjoyed. I'm not going to read them out to you, but you'll get access to this page, so you'll be able to see them and their sources as well if you want to learn a bit more. But the overarching theme here is that finding the why really does make a difference also in larger organizations. What I love about this one, and I do want to state, is that we have kind of like two approaches for implementing AI in organizations. One is it's not necessarily top down, but one is the way where we decide on a tool, we build something, we maybe purchase something, and then we just shove it at people in the organization and we say, you have to use this. And then there's the other way, which I love how it's been described here. The last kind of highlighted part, which is the tool wasn't mandatory. Each advisor could decide whether and how to use it. So the other way of doing this is really including people and co-creating with the people, potentially. That's not mentioned here. But at the very least, giving people the opportunity to decide if and how they want to use it. And this kind of relates to the larger remote work and trust conversation as well, is how are you implementing AI? Are you implementing it to observe, to track, or are you implementing it in a way that people can really supercharge their own skills and whatever it is that they are doing? Do you trust them to be able to define for themselves how they can use AI? So this step, the why, it maps to the entry scan. There is the mapping and discovery phase. I have added, and you will get access to this page, so don't worry, you will be able to find all of these links. There is a kind of like 5-minute video that shows you a bit more about the using service mapping and the user journey part. But yeah, this one, the mapping and discovery part, I cannot emphasize how important this teeny tiny step is for every single client I've ever worked with. Every time we've not done it, we've had to go back to do it after. So this step is something that I would not skip if I was you. So here's the exercise that I would love us to take a moment, not 5 minutes, again, because we're on LinkedIn Live, but just really consider for yourself. And I'm going to do a 1-minute timer just so we have a moment to look at this together. So 3 questions. And this is very much related to if you're thinking about like why or how or where in my process should I use AI. There are different ways to define where to start. And I know this can be quite tricky, and there's a tendency to kind of just see what other people are doing and copying it, which can be really helpful. But really going internally, like what are the things that you as a person really would love help with? Because AI is a great assistant. It's a great tool for each individual to kind of tap into and utilize for your own work. So 3 questions. First one, what do you keep postponing? What is the what is the thing that you know that you need to do, but you just don't ever really get to? So that's probably something that you find painful, and maybe AI might be able to reduce the pain or help you do it without having such a big big challenge around it. The second one is what can you not stop doing? So this one is really about emphasizing your skills. So where can you supercharge your abilities? Where can you supercharge and make something that you're very good at even better? And this is, I think, an underutilized aspect to AI. A lot of us are trying to use it for automation and getting rid of things, but there really is a massive use case for using AI to make yourself so much better than what you are already, just because of time, because of the context, because of memory, all of these things. I cannot stop asking questions about anything to AI. Yeah, that is definitely addictive. I think a lot of us can really relate to that. And the third question we have is, what do people ask your help with? And again, this doesn't really relate to whether you're an individual, solopreneur, or in an organization. What are the questions that you get asked? What do people ask your help with? Because AI is an incredible tool for sharing your insight, giving people access to you to a level, of course, um, without you having to be there 24/7. So there is an immense opportunity to share your wisdom and know-how, whether that's organizational or personal or whatever it might be, with number three. So let's take a few seconds to just note down and write down the answers to these questions. So what do you keep postponing? What do you avoid potentially? What can you not stop doing? So what do you enjoy? What do you love? And what do people ask your help with? And I'll give you a few seconds to write these down on paper or wherever you might be doing this. Cool. So let's keep moving. We have a really good question. How will we co-build the AI so it reflects that expertise rather than just automating surface level tasks? Honest answer to that is by going through the steps in order. So first understanding what is it that's happening now, mapping your process, understanding where the pains are, where where do you drop the ball, where does it not work, where also where do you have access to information that's uniquely yours. And I'm going to talk about this a bit more. Then understanding, like, or starting to really focus on the what. So deciding where to start, because you can't build everything at once, then building it, and then the step four, which is testing. There's a lot of trial and error that goes into especially creating these like wisdom hubs or knowledge hubs, because we all use AI slightly differently. So if you're building for yourself, it's probably going to be a bit faster because you will be more equipped to use your own materials as someone else. But yeah, it really comes down to going through all of these steps in order. And if you want to do that with us as well, just sign up to the newsletter, because we will have all of these steps in separate emails that you'll be able to do with exercises coming out next year. So hopefully that will help. But this is a really good question, because a lot of people come to us doing this, and it's not difficult per se, but it just requires a specific way of doing it, making sure that you understand yourself, you understand what you're doing, and then you understand the AI side of things. So how to prompt, how does knowledge work, how do sources work, like all of these kind of more technical things as well. So going back to the kind of why. So why are we using AI? How do we implement it intentionally? A good why really comes down to having a specific problem, something that you can measure in impact, and just being clear who it affects. So if you're building for yourself, probably the person that it affects the most is you. But if you're building in a team or an organization, there are going to be a lot more people systems, environments where the effect will expand to. So just being intentional, aware of what you're doing. And please, I hope we won't hear this in 2026 anymore, but like when you ask people why they're using AI, it's like, oh, we need AI. LinkedIn is all about AI, so I need AI. While that is a reason, it's not a very specific problem. So really just try and go down to the specifics of what is the problem that you're trying to solve. It could be anything like, yeah, our team spends 5 hours a week searching for something. Because when you have a why that is this clear, building for it is going to be very easy. It's going to be really simple, and it's just a matter of going through the steps at that point. But if you don't really know what you're solving, it doesn't really matter how good the steps are. You won't be able to solve an actual problem. So really just take the time to focus on the why and select the first place to start. There's a question or comment on, I guess, different AI knowledge hubs will have specific impact and specific KPIs to measure them. Yeah, and I'm not going to be really talking about the different AI providers or tools or platforms in this session, because I think there's plenty of that in the universe right now. They all or most have similar logic. So one of the things that I really love and really find really useful when we work with clients is that when you are building with AI, if you're using the kind of process that we use, anything that you build, you will be able to take it to another platform. And of course, if you're building like a multinational, global corporate level system, then we're talking about something different. But the scale that we're talking about is small, medium businesses, or teams within larger organizations. So all of those AI knowledge hubs and tools are going to be slightly different, but the logic is the same. So just to note that these things, while everything is changing, these fundamentals actually are not changing. We are still going to need a why. We're still going to need to understand why we're building what we're building, and how to do that is going to change a lot. I was just thinking about this yesterday with a client that we started working with. I think it was over a year ago, and they went back to one of their old tools today, and they were confused because it was acting differently. And that was it was an old client. They're not working with us anymore, or we were not working with them anymore, and they didn't go back to the tool in between. And this is something that's really different with AI because it keeps expanding and changing all the time. You just can't really leave it be and not go back to check on it. Otherwise, you will just have a very different product at the end than you did in the beginning, because it's a dynamic tool and it keeps evolving. Everything keeps evolving. So in order to utilize AI optimally, you really need to you need to be included in the process. You need to be involved, and you need to keep going back to it. Testing, really evaluating, all of that stuff is extremely important with AI, because it's not a static solution in any shape or form. Cool. When you have access to this link, you can also get the entry scan that will help you kind of like go deeper into what you might want to build for yourself. So next step, what are we doing? What are we building? And like I said, this is the step that I wish everyone would take after they understand why they need to build what they're building, what problem does it solve, what are you actually building, and making a decision. So deciding on one thing at a time. This is honestly, I would say, the biggest problem all of our clients have, is that they're trying to build for everything. They're trying to build a full system or product or process or solve all of the organizational issues. And with time, you probably can, but you cannot do that at the same time. So you need to really define what is it that you're focusing on right now. And this actually relates to the previous question. So how do we co-build so it reflects the expertise? When we know what we're building, we will be able to find the right knowledge, the right sources, the right tools, the right technology much more easily than if we have a very generic issue or challenge that we're trying to solve. The way that we work with people, because we actually do these sprints as 5 steps, so it's just 5 steps, not like 5 months doing this full week. In this second step, we really just make decisions. So we look at what we have, and then we decide where to start based on the KPIs and just checking like where is the greatest pain, where is the potentially greatest benefit, but also sometimes depending on the use case, but especially with teams, there is this kind of like shared value. So sometimes a team member might want to work with something and they can, but as a team, when you come together, what is the one thing where all of your team can most benefit? How can you create a kind of like hub of wisdom for your team where everyone in the team has access to the expertise of the other people in the team? So these types of solutions are just really powerful. And in this case, let's use that as an example. So if you're building a team intelligence hub or whatever you want to call it, every single person would bring their own feed. So in this picture, I usually ask this as like, what do you need to feed the AI? What does it need to know? What does it need to have access to? And then you just bring it before you train it, right? And again, it sounds really simple, but a lot of people kind of skip this, or they bring something really generic, or they bring everything. They're like, here's my Google Drive, use it. But if you're using a very generic, massive knowledge hub or source, it's going to be very difficult also for the AI to use it in the optimal way. So just remember, the more specific you are with what you feed the AI, the better it's going to be. And it's the same if you think about training a VA or a person. If you just shove them a massive Google Drive and say, go work, they'll probably not be very accurate and they will not be able to read your mind. Whereas if you give them access to one folder with very specific files and you give them a very clear task, they will most likely perform much better. So it's the same with AI. So we have a comment on metrics are problem specific, not tool specific. I really like this point of the good why and the what. Yeah, honestly, I cannot emphasize that part enough. It's the one thing that if you skip that step, all the rest is going to be more challenging. And if you actually just nail that first step, it's going to be much easier in the future and the delivery is going to be much better. So what do we feed the AI is the first step here when we're deciding what are the steps or what is the process that we need to take with the AI, and then what is the results, what is the end output that you want to have from the AI. And all of these are going to be addressed differently depending on the solution. Sometimes you have AIs that only have output and knowledge. Sometimes you only have steps. It really depends on what you're trying to achieve. So these are gonna be different every time. There's gonna be an exercise that you will have access to, again, just to write down these 3 things. So what is the feed that your AI needs, or what is the food that it eats? What does it need to do? And what is the result that you get? Those 3 things are very important, and they're going to be weighed slightly differently depending on not only your solution or what you're building, but also your preference, which one is most important to you. So this again relates to the question that we had before. So one thing that AI is really good at is magnifying your expertise. The issue with using like generic AI is that you kind of get generic answers. Obviously, your expertise doesn't transfer, so the quality is inconsistent. You're mostly competing on speed, not really value. Maybe you're just duplicating what other people are doing, because honestly, that's what you get if you don't train it yourself. And building for purpose is just different in the sense that it really focuses on how you solve problems. What not only like tone of voice, and this we've probably seen on LinkedIn a lot, like, oh, get the AI right the way you do. That's one level, to have AI right the way that you do, but also how do you solve problems? What are your philosophy? Like, how do you address challenges? All of these things should be embedded in the AI? What are the guidelines and guardrails that you want to have? So when you're building this way, your expertise actually scales, the quality stays high, and you can adapt to changes naturally. So that's one of the things that you really get when you go deep into the process and kind of skip the surface level build that most people are doing. And this is just a question for everyone to think about. What makes you valuable? Because I think this is, like I mentioned before, this is one of the most underused uses of AI. Is what is it that makes you really good at whatever it is that you do? Because these are usually things that you should be training the AI in. It's not other people's insight. It's not other people's frameworks. What are your frameworks? What is it that you do? What is it that makes you really good at something? And really just focusing on that, and how do you double down on that with AI so you can use it yourself, but also potentially just give other people access to that insight and your expertise. Here we have a few kind of like how teasers. So for example, what you can do is obviously you can have an analysis. So this is something that we use in our projects. We have a persona creation tool. This is not really a marketing persona. This is a deep product persona. But some of the ways outside of the kind of like emphasizing your expertise is just making things faster. So for example, we have an AI that's trained on asking the questions around your persona. Then we have one that analyzes the insights from that. And then we have another one that links it directly to a Gamma template. So if you need to share it with your team, we also do this with Gemini 3, or not Gemini 3, but AI Studio. So every single persona creation that we do now goes from analysis or questions asked. This can be a transcript as well. So we just have a transcript of a session where we have the interview. We feed that to the AI. It analyzes it based on, again, really deeply trained AI to figure out the pain points, etc. What is the most useful for this specific use case, which is building AI solutions. And then we turn it into a visual at the end. Because I don't know about you, but I need to see things in color, in visual formatting, in order to be able to process it. I'm not someone who can read like Excel sheets and understand anything of it. So that's one of the things that we really enjoy using. So let me see, there was a question around how can defining the right inputs, processes, and outputs help design an AI solution that delivers meaningful and effective results? Honestly, if you don't design for those three, or you don't address them, it's going to be really difficult to create anything meaningful. Because if you don't know what it needs to know, if you don't know what the steps are that it needs to take, and you don't know what you need out of it, I'm not sure how you would be able to clearly design something that will help you in delivering something. Again, then you would maybe just be kind of building a flashy tool or a demo, but you wouldn't be solving a problem. So I think I would just use them as a way to like make sure that you're focusing on the problem. Cool. So how? This is the example space. Again, you're going to get access to this page, so you will be able to actually click through and look at these case studies, because they are really deeply analyzed, and there's a bit more info in there, and you will see how we work with these. But I'm not going to go into it today because we have very limited time in this session, and I want to run through all of these steps for you. So as I mentioned, we work with individuals as well as teams and organizations. The steps are the same, but the kind of focus and types of things that we build, types of products, or types of outputs that we create can be quite different. This is one of my favorites. So we're working with a company that is addressing homelessness in the US. And again, we do the same sprint steps. We map and discover. This has been incredibly useful because there are so many stakeholders. It's actually a really complex mapping and discovery process. And then design, so pinpointing where exactly should we tackle it? What do we need to address? So what are the governance expectations? What are the privacy considerations? What is the local knowledge that we need to gather, etc. And then the build, which is building these solutions, figuring out who to test with. So making sure, again, that this is ethical and done in a good way. And then implementation. Now, this process and this project is a long-term process, because obviously this is a very complex problem, so you can't solve it in one 5-step project. But what we do is essentially we give the space to each step that it requires in order to get the best outputs. Usually it goes slightly like in cycles. So it might be that we map for 1 or 2 weeks, then we design, then we build, then we test, then we go back. So it's not like a linear process necessarily, but these are the steps that we always tackle in every single project, even if it's not exactly in this order. Yeah, and this I mentioned. So what we do is we essentially take a transcript of an interview, we feed it to the AI that's been trained, and then we feed that into another space that creates this fully visualized, easy to understand page that we can then share with all the stakeholders so everyone knows what we're talking about. And this honestly is something that in the past would have taken probably a week at least to define, whereas now we can do this in a very, very condensed time frame with AI. So let me see, we have a few minutes left. There are some other case studies here. So we have, I'm not going to repeat this one. I ran a personal sprint for 50% company at the same time, alone facilitating. I would not recommend that, but it was a really good learning process. Here we have a case study of an individual copywriter. Here you can actually see the steps, as I mentioned before, but you can also see the clients, so our clients' workflow and what happens there. And you can see the detailed persona that we created using these tools. And we have the journey map for that persona as well. So if you're curious about like how this might look like, please go here and just have a look at these, because these will help you kind of see in practice what it can look like. So here are the examples. I am going to also share a tiny bit of this one just because it's quite different. So this one is a digital product, so an AI-powered product. Again, same sprint process, understanding like a complete system of tarot. There's the knowledge base, again, quite vast because it's the whole universe of reading tarot plus the individual angle to it. And then the build here is really interesting because in this specific case, we build it in the kind of AI brain or in a no-code AI platform. And what we do is we deploy it in different places. So you can actually use this same app. So me as the creator, I would be editing only one AI backend to serve both WhatsApp use, app use, voice, image. All of that would live in one place. So I only have one product to edit in my end, and then I just deploy it in different places. And this WhatsApp is massive, obviously, in most places in the world, not the US, but everywhere else. So being able to actually serve your clients or even use it yourself on WhatsApp is just beyond amazing, honestly, because it's really, really, really native to the way that it operates. And here you can see how it works. So you literally just upload pictures in WhatsApp, and the AI is, again, there's not like a lesser knowledge base, or it's not in any way less intelligent or informed on your knowledge as it would be on a website or in another format. And of course, you can then track the usage and understand test, 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 test. So see how people are using it and make it better based on that. So here were a few examples. Feel free to go deeper into each one. And also if you have any questions around them. I'm heading towards the end of the session and we have a few minutes left. But I just wanted to give you a bit of insight into the how as well. Feel free to ask any questions that come up. Really happy to provide any answers that you might need. And yeah, so here workshop.purpose-driven.ai is where you can find this literal page. So the page that you see now on the screen is located there. So workshop.purpose-driven.ai. You'll be able to click through all of it and everything's there. So you'll be able to find the examples and case studies, all of this in more detail and with your own time. So I got asked about the kind of like ways of working with the clients, and this is one of the ways that we work. So some of the more kind of, how would I say, repetitive steps or steps that are well handled by AI, we serve with custom AI tools. So we give access to tools and sessions that are created by us, and people can use them or our clients can use them on the back end, both to support them in their work. So we have planners and those kinds of things, but also as supportive tools for each one of the steps specifically. You actually have one here. So this you can click when you go to workshop.purpose-driven.ai. You can ask about the sprints as well. So this is just a widget version of one of the AI tools that we have. We have addressed the kind of why and the strategic importance of intentionally using AI quite a bit. So I'm going to skip through these and I'm just going to go into the kind of key takeaways from today from my end. And I would love to hear what you are taking away from today. So in a nutshell, there's a lot of kind of like complexity around the features, the what, the how do we build it, where do we put stuff, etc. But in a nutshell, just by making sure that you address these 3 questions, you will get way further than most people you probably see on your feed. So really, first of all, asking the why. What is the problem that I'm actually trying to solve? And try to identify the 3 pain points or opportunities and really just pick one that would transform your life if you were able to change it. The second one is the what. So what do I need to build? What do I need to build a solution? What do I need to have? What is the knowledge? What do I need to feed the AI? What is the process? What do I need to get out of it? And really just defining that. Again, there's the image previously on the page that you can use to do that. And then we have the how. So how do I build it and how do I help people make the most of it? And this can mean yourself, if you're building for yourself. How do I make sure that I'm making it easier for me to use? So if you use WhatsApp, maybe just deploy it on WhatsApp, depending on the context of what you're building. And really just co-build with people. If you're working with consultants or anyone outside of your team, just make sure that you understand why you're building and why it is the way it is. Ask those questions, and hopefully, if you're not in charge of buying that support yourself, just ask your managers or anyone doing that to include the co-build and collaboration part, because AI is really best used collaboratively, and really just understanding how it's trained, why it does what it does, and making it better is really, really powerful. So this is from the study that we had in the beginning. I love how kind of simple and unsurprising these are at the same time. But it's like the 5% of the pilots that succeed, they don't chase flashy demos or generic tools. They build systems that learn, admit uncertainty, and integrate deeply into workflows. So essentially, it's just about understanding that what you're building serves a purpose, the limitations of the tools, the limitations of AI, building systems that actually consider and have people as a part of the process in a way that allows the system to get better over time. We talk a lot about memory of the AI, which is one part, but also we do need to have people in there. You can't just take your Google Drive, shove it into an AI, and expect it to be perfect. It just doesn't work that way. And if someone tells you it works that way, they're probably trying to sell you something. It takes time testing and these multiple steps of going through the process of learning with the AI to get to good results and really high quality results. This quote I absolutely love. It's not actually a testimonial, it's from a sprint that we did. So yeah, Bob said that was on day 5, and I think we addressed it previously as well. I wish we had spent more time on mapping the service blueprint on day 1. This is the comment that I get most of the time. It's like, oh, I wish I would have done that in more detail. And the reason for that is that it just really does make it easier to do all of the rest. All of the other steps become so much easier when you understand the process, what you're doing now, what do you want to do in the future, where the problems are, etc., etc. So today we went through the why, what, how framework. We had 2 practical exercises, which you can find in the link that's been shared, and you took a first look at the 5-step process overview. If you were to sprint with us, we're obviously not using exercises, we're just building what it is that you're building. And we're not using examples by your solution. And yeah, it's actual hands-on work across all 5 steps and coaching to support that. You will find more information about the co-builds here. I'm not going to go into that now because this is a session for you to learn. I truly invite you to subscribe to the newsletter because you will get these steps as snippets, like smaller pieces with individual steps to start building whatever it is that you're building for free. And then if you're curious potentially to work with us, we have a special price for you all on this page. So feel free to access it as well. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today. I know that we are hitting the half past whatever it might be for each and every one of us. So I'm really, really happy to hear a bit more from Aiden. Maybe we have a closing coming up or any questions that might come.
I don't know. Do we have more questions? Should we wait for 1 minute probably? Or
Yeah.
how is it?
I feel like I definitely had like at least a day here. This is the problem with the sprints. It's so exciting to actually start going through these steps. That it's hard to do in a very short time, but I really enjoyed it today.
Yeah, it is. Wait, I think, do we have more questions though? Yes, I don't think we have more questions.
Yeah, I'm grateful for the questions. Really, really nice to get questions along the way. And yeah, if you have any questions later on as well, feel free to message me on LinkedIn or email us. So
yeah,
I can answer.
I think this is pretty much it. Thank you so much, Maria, and thank you so much for everyone who also coming. I saw some questions over there. Putri, Paolo over here, also some from Lavinia, and we have also some people from YouTube. Wow, this is it's a nice experience to try this streaming platform. Thank you so much, Maria, as well for today. I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next event as well. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. See you
Bye.
soon.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.